All right, Chapter 9, Non-Appropriated Funded Projects. Introduction, Project Planning, Funding and Approval, Project Approval, Authority Level, Project Validation, Air Force, Project Manager, Environmental Asset Assessments, Requestment, Non-Appropriated Equipment and Fundings, Design, Construction, and Management Option, Non-Appropriated Funds, Architectural Engineering. Chapter 9, Non-Appropriated Funded Projects, Section 3, Planning, instruction, design, instruction, funding, certification, design, headquarters of the USAFSVA, involvement in project milestone, project status, report, status must work, project plan, management plan, requirements, documentation, design chariots, design team, design review, convening design review committees, mandatory coordinate with the design reviews, design execution, certification, availability, construction funds, opportunity, advertise, authority to advertise, authority to award, requesting non-appropriated funds, equipment funds, for project management guide companion with the APF, project the funding of the categories, reprogramming funding between categories, payment invoices. 5. Project change, modification, cost increase, project requesting approval of the cost, scope, cost changes, the process request for contingency funding allocation, reimbursement procedures using residual funds, major common approval authority, the Air Force non-appropriated funds facility panel approval authority, the headquarters U.S. Army Air Force ILV approval authority, project funding account. All right. 6. Supplemental information, non-funding source of the non-appropriated funded construction project, the non-appropriated design construction program responsibility, funding source of non-appropriated funded maintenance repair projects, the critical difference between military construction and non-appropriated funded construction, funding sources, important team, non-appropriated funded constructions, reference standard AF 32-122 planning program, non-appropriated funded project, and AF 32-123 design construction standard execution facility construction projects. Chapter 9, Non-Appropriated Funded Projects. Introduction. The chapter is not intended to provide is not intended to be definite guide of the service of non-appropriated funded. However, it does strive to overview the project with relate to the possible military construction throughout the chapter of the guidance for the service of non-appropriated funded. The difference with the military construction are noted. Air Force Project Manager. He should refer to the chapter the release of the documentation live with the non-appropriated funded guidance. The term Air Force Project Manager is used consistently throughout the guide, but they refer to the major kind level project manager responsible for the military construction. The chapter assumed with the military major commons provided with the similar project manager responsibility non-appropriated funded, although they may be base responsible in some instances. The design construction process of the project funded with non-appropriated funded involved the procedure of different significance if the project accomplished with military construction operation maintenance dollars. Majority of the difference between the Secretary of the Air Force and the Chief of the Secretary of the Chief of the United States Air Force directs the policy and procedure concerning oversight and control concept, the scope of the consisting cost funding of each of the non-appropriated funding. The facility division of the Air Force Service Agency is tasked within the responsibility of implementing these policies and procedures because of the task any of the processing normally accomplished solely with the civil engineering community now require the coordination and approval of the service community. The following pages outline the non-appropriated fund of the construction process provided with the guidelines of the Air Force program manager to execute the non-appropriated fund of the civil engineering personnel working with any aspect of the non-appropriated fund should read and become familiar with the chapter. Since the question arises that you need a clarification for any of the area containing the Air Force Service Agency Facility Division. It's important that the Air Force program manager, the base level program manager, have the good understanding of the non-appropriated funded programs processing, get involved early in the project validation process. 2. Project planning. Funding of the approval of the Chief of the Staff and the Head of the United States Air Force approved the funding of the non-appropriated project based funds recommended by the Air Force MWR Advisory Board, chaired by the Vice Chief of the Staff, Headquarters of the United States Army Air Force, and the Air Force based in the capital involved improvement pun maintained by the higher headquarters of the AFSVA, that provides the dollars of these project funding and the approval that covers all the aspects of the project design, construction, contingency, ASOH, project management, and furniture, fixtures, and equipment. See Appendix 52, non-appropriated facility project program project approval process. All right, B. Project approval authority, non-appropriate project approval levels are vary according to the class work of the maintenance, repair of the construction, funding costs for the project construction contingency, SOIH, Table 91. Project approval authority level the class work major common approval, the head USAF Engineering Corp, the SAFL, and move mill approval, the congressional approval, operation of maintenance, unlimited and non-applicable for the rest, the repair of non-appropriated funds under 500K to 500K under 5 million is the major common approval of U.S. headquarters of headquarters USAFILEC, Engineering Corps FAM mill approval and non-applicable to congressional 5 million or more, and not applicable repair under 1 million, 1 million under 5 million, 5 million or more, and the non-applicable is congressional approval. Congressional construction non-appropriated under 500K non-applicable for the major com and the U.S. headquarters AF in LIC, SFA and mill approval 500K or more, and congressional approval 500K or more. All right, project validation of need of the critical facility asset with the approval of the process of the non-appropriately funded project. The congressional wants the assurance that the non-appropriately funded dollars that are spent with the project will satisfy the validated customer needed, and in case of the revenue of producing the activity deliver the least minimum level of the financial return. The validation is done with the need assessment done NAS done by the independent contractor. Large project at the headquarters of AFVSVA staff with the smaller project that have the studies the assets of the market demand determines the optimum scope of the concept of each of the product, the cost of construction, contingency, supervision, inspection, overhead, or SOIH. Management fee, the design not on real property, installed equipment that was identified and used to establish with the project budget. Needs assessment studies accomplished throughout the site of the base with the mail surveys, but the focus of the group of the position. The first periodic of the needs assessment survey is the draft study, the compliance with the finding of the study, to present the facility solution option, and make the recommendation of the draft of the study with the submitted with the review and the owner of the base of the major com services and the civil engineering. It's imperative the base of the major com program managers review the draft study thoroughly, ensure the accuracy, ensure the needs assessment study contractor that has been taken consideration requirements necessary to the good facility Air Force program and should also review all the needs and demands with the project based in the plan with the project management. The contractor limited the time and the conduct of these studies as initially possible that they may overcome certain requirements. Example would be emission of the existing utilities to be extended with the support of the proposed facility and major com service of civil engineering must complete with the review of the draft study, the return of the comments, consideration possible incorporation of the final need assessment study. Once the need assessment study is finalized, it's essentially approved. The kind of recommendation of the non-appropriated, the needs appropriated study becomes the project requirement. The Air Force program manager must understand that input of the draft study is extremely important. The no input and provided with the implication is that the need assessment study, draft study is correct because the congressional focus of the validated customer can demand the financial reliability of authority to change the non-appropriately funded project is very limited in base and major com level. The Air Force program should be obtained with the needed assessment study for the project if so they can be known the criteria costs upon which the project was approved. All right, the Air Force program manager. When the term Air Force program manager is used in the chapter, it refers to the major com civil engineering project manager. If some of the major com civil engineering staff office does project management, the Air Force civil engineering is responsible to ensure the copy of the information provided with the individual environmental assessments. The AFBCIF in funds only be used in environmental assets if the requirements specifically identify the need assessment study cost breakout. The fund breakout sent with the major com SV or as part of the initial project notification package for the environmental funds as part of the line item under the design and such funds are approved. The base responsibility of the funding environmental assessment if the funding is not provided with the project. The AFBACIF funds are not authorized environmental impact study with the prior coordination and approval of the headquarters of AFSVA. Non-appropriated funded equipment funds. The equipment funded with the non-appropriated funded project identified with the needs assessment study. Depending on the type of the project, this may be a lump sum dollar amount, or it could be specifically list of the equipment items. Normally, the equipment will be purchased separately with the base server squadrons using the Air Force non-appropriated funded with the purchasing officer by the local non-appropriated funded accounting offices. Occasionally, however, the equipment will not be part of the construction contract. Air Force program should clarify how the equipment will be provided during the design phase of the project. Design, construction, and management options. Delivery method of the Chapter 2 delivery status, methods, and contract type section of the designer. See Chapter 2 on the design and in-house staff of the architectural engineering contract. Determine who will roles of the design agent and the contracting officer. Each of the non-appropriated funds must design a cost estimated with the bid approved earlier preliminary design. 35% headquarters U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps reports project the Office of Secretary of Defense and the Congress. The Air Force Program Management should establish the design schedule to ensure the milestone is met. Choose the construction management option. Partnering, determining who will have the roles of construction agency and construction agent, contracting officer. Determining if the construction management will be in-house or a contract. Note if the construction management is to be done by contract or as it must have been identified with the non-need of assessment process. Need assessment study process. The Air Force Program Manager should record the decision with the project management plan, design the future cost to compromise the requirement documentation. Together, these requirements management plan ramp. The headquarters of AFSVA administrative identify delivery, identify the quality contract for the architectural engineering firm to verify the degrees, experience, and abilities to specify specifically the non-appropriated funds type. Use is optional. Air Force Program Manager is responsible for the same, only the difference at headquarters of AFSVA, non-appropriated funded purchasing officer, contracting officer. Using assistance, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts will start up at the time of the since architectural engineering on the board. Award time involved in negotiating of delivery order. It was also provided added flexible major com execution. All right, 3, project execution. Planning instruction. Planning instructions are not issued to the non-appropriated funded project. The Air Force project manager should finalize the project management plan. B, design instruction. Once the need assessment study is finalized, the base of the major comm headquarters, the ASVA, staff concurs with the scope, the cost, the concept of the headquarters, the AFSVA headquarters, the U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps. If the base of major comm, AFSVA staff agrees, the study, the recommendation of the Air Force non-appropriately funded facilities panel will resolve the disagreement. Recommendation of the final project, the scope of the concept. The headquarters of the U.S. Army Air Force and Engineering Corps issued the design instruction authorized Major Com and Civil Engineering to start the design after the notification of the headquarters of the Air Force SVA. The Air Force Program Manager involved in the prior project execution beginning at the same point. Some of the Major Com may wish to have the program management involved with the needed assessment study process to help the install with how the project scope and cost the derived intent with the needed assessment study contract recommendation concerning facility had significant benefits during the execution, which resource the major project manager participation encouraged. C, funding, certification, and design. Headquarters of AFSVA notifies the Major Com SV when the design instruction is issued, certify the funds as available to design project with the person and specify the certification manager and Major Com SV staff provided with the piece of the certification memo of the Air Force Program and base SV and CE. All right, headquarters of AFSVA oversees the design construction process of non-appropriately funded projects, control the allocation of funds in both funded and unfunded portions of the project. The headquarters of the AFSVA assigned the project team constituting the architectural facility program to perform this function. Architecture review. All the design submitted to the part must participate in the pre-definition conference as well as the 15% design and 35% design review meetings. The facility programmer work with approval to issue the control the allocation of control dollars and is funded with the unappropriated funds project. Either project milestone, the headquarters of AFSVA requests that the project milestone will then modify with the Major Com SV and the DI. Design instruction has been issued. The design funds that have been certified. Funds will be released for the initiation project without submittal with the milestones. Major Com SV facility coordinator will work with the Air Force Program and Major Com and the base staff to develop milestones and schedule. After project status report, the headquarters of the ASVA requires the BSF facility coordinator to provide a monthly status report on each of the non-appropriated funded projects on the base. At the base, the first report is due this month, and receipt of the design instruction report of the headquarters of ASVA, SVXA, read with the Major Com SV facility coordinator by the 10th working day of each month. Provide copies of the Major Com CE Civil Engineering SV and base Civil Engineering Program Manager in the base. So SV's facilities coordinate should be at each of the end of the update the information on the previous month's status report. Your first program manager must ensure the current project date in accordance with the PDC and ACE for all the non-appropriated repairs and construction was funded at $500,000 or greater. Chief Statement of Work and Project Management and Requirement Documentation. The Air Force Project Management designate the design agent to develop the design statement of the works and the requirements of documentation reflecting the needed assessment to study cost, scope, and the current steps according with the statement of work, research development with the Major Com Civil Engineering and SV. The Air Force Program Manager shall develop the project management plan outline the requirements and redevelop relevant design construction process discussed in the chapter. The Air Force Program Management is responsible for ensuring the headquarters of ASVA project team reviews the accordance with the project statement of work, research division, program management plan that has been finalized and implemented. A copy of the final statement of work and research development is provided by the headquarters of AFSVA project team for inclusion on the project file. H. Design chariot. The preferred method of initiating design of the non-appropriated funds is throughout the design chariot process. The format is the most effective way to ensure everyone involved with the process understands the direction parameters of the project from the outset. It also provides an environment where the key players can focus on the critical design issues early in the design development. The design team that should include, but not only various civil engineering disciplines, but also base civil engineering, SVs, base facility coordinators, activity managers, key employees, Major Com SVs, facilities coordinators, and appropriate members of the headquarters of Air Force SVA project team. Design review meeting. The non-appropriate funded following at the start of the military construction design process should have pre-definite conferences, design review meetings, or chariot project definition of 15% early preliminary design, 30% preliminary design, 60% in pre-final design, 90% design phase submittals. Design product will require the review meeting of the request for proposal package submittal phase. The headquarters of AFSVA represents the most intended for different conference. Charlotte project definition, early preliminary design, 30% review meetings in the Air Force project management must be at least 2 weeks notice of the review meeting of the project documentation should be provided with the AFSVA at least 1 week in advance of these meetings. A chariot lasting up to 5 days required. The project required validated over $500,000. The project Charlotte should be equivalent with the project definition, 50% design effort. The need for preliminary design, 60% of the design should be determined on a case-by-case basis with the Major Com program manager from the headquarters of SVA. When designing the build delivery methods, use the Charlotte projection definition. Similar design review meeting of the may still required to award the design and building contract. There are 2 ways to approach the design building project. One is a one-step design project involving the preparation project definition of 15% package approval, the early preliminary design, 35%, and performance of specification, which include the request for proposal per package. A 2-phase design project only occurs in the narrative description of the field provided with the initial request for proposal, design build the firms respond with the initial solicitation information, professional business qualification, proposed project management plan, but no technical cost proposals. Responding firms are shortlisted based on the qualifications similar to the architectural engineering selection process. Second solicitation package includes the elated narrative, identifies the project scope, and requires the cost package performance specifications top of the 3 or 5 shortlisted firms invited submitted the technical cost proposal. Design bid construction generally be awarded through negotiated process based on a best value rather than lowest bid. Note in some instances the service committees will already have been list of pre-qualified designing build from specific type of projects. In this case, only second part of the above process is required. The choice of which of the methods should be coordinated with the action should be involving the key members of the design team. See Chapter 4 for additional information. Headquarters K. Designing review committees. The HQ AFSVA will provide design review comments in each of the phases of the project Design the Architectural Air Force Program Manager provide with the response to identification proposed action for the items noted with the comments. Comments indicate that the project design deviates the proposed scope of the cast and concept must be resolved with the project design can be proceed. Mandatory headquarters AFSVA coordinate with the design submittals. The headquarters ASVA SVX must formally coordinate with the project design submittal with the early preliminary design, pre-final design, and stages provided with the authority to continue the design process at the next level fully. Failure to adhere to the requirement may obligate the major commons to pay the redesign costs necessary for the resolve the problem, identify the commons. Consequently, a critical Air Force program manager schedule to stop pointing at the two milestones before a need to proceed is issued. Design execution. Project design is validated but not needs of assessment, which is need assessment study, which includes project scope, scope, and concept of the project. Non-appropriated funded projects must be detailed cost estimate based on the least of the project early pre-design before the U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps submitted the project and analyzed known appropriated report for the Congress Air Force Program Manager established design schedule to ensure the meet also is made. However, the 35% of the design minimum target the goal should be met with a design of close to 100% of the minute possible submitting the project conclusion with the non-appropriated funding to Congress. And certifying availability of the construction off funds. The headquarters of ASVA must certify the availability of construction funds diversely with the non-appropriated funds project as the project nears design completion and ready to advisable Air Force program through the major comms SV requires the headquarters of ASVA certify the construction fund availability. Headquarters of AFSVA provides funding certification major comm SV which complies with the Air Force program and is the base SV. Authority of advertise and for Air Force funded with the non-appropriated funded with the contract consult $500,000 or higher. The headquarters of U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps provides authority to advertise major comm request. The U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps validates scope, cost, approval coordinated with the headquarters. The U.S. Air Force SVA issues the authority to advertise design instruction major comm projects exceeding the approved scope. Costs must be appropriate. The headquarters of ASV at the approval of the project scope and concept change with the part of the release of the advisory authority. The Section 5 of the further information approval of the project change. All costs increase the new projects submitted with the major comm certified Department of Defense Form 1391. All right, P. Authority to award headquarters of U.S. Army, U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps provided the authority of the contract. The Air Force program manager for the headquarters of U.S. Army, U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps to copy bid extract all the bidders of the project indicated with the bids associated with the request authority to award. See Appendix 53 sample bid extraction. Its total project cost, construction contingency, center overhead, design fees, and equipment does not exceed the approved amount. The headquarters of the U.S. Army Air Force Engineering Corps will design instruction from the major comm authorized construction award. If the total percentage exceeds the project approved amount, the Air Force program must obtain the variation approval of the approval authority prior to the requesting authority award. The headquarters of U.S. Army Air Force Engineering Corps, Section 5 of the further information. The Air Force Program Manager will provide notification contract to headquarters of Air Force Engineering as forward with a copy of the Air Force SVA, SVC, ASVXF, along with a copy of the bid extract with all bidders of the project. Q. Requesting non-appropriated equipment funds. Prior to the application of non-appropriated equipment funds with the base provided with the headquarters of the ASVA, SVXF, via the major comm items is listed with the items and planned with the purchase of the project that must include the item name of the quantity, unit cost, total cost. The following items are not authorized for the purchase of the AFBCI or IF. If equipment, it's real property installed with equipment, part of the construction or supply type, items authorized with purchase with appropriate funds. After validating the equipment, there are legitimate, non-appropriated funded project expenditures. Headquarters of the AFSVA, SVXF allocate the funds to project equipment account. See the equipment list, Appendix 54 for the equipment list sample. All right, 4. Project management guidance, companion or appropriated fund projects. Non-appropriated projects have been companions with appropriate companion appropriated fund projects. Execution of non-appropriated funds project continues to be the base fund of the appropriated funds companion project. Therefore, it is important to identify the requirements of the appropriate fiscal year. Non-appropriated, non-authorized accomplish with the work of the appropriated fund account is authorized fund source at the sum important to ensure the clarification is correct. Particular communication, demolition, environmental utilities costs associated with the project and appropriated funded projects need to be initiated, identified during the need assessment study when possible. Air Force program managers should also ensure the companion with the appropriated funded projects have been included with the appropriate fiscal year budget. B. Funding categories. Project funding accountability established by the non-appropriated central banking system. Funds are divided in three categories: design funds, use of design services, site investigation, environmental assessment, design agent, design management fees. Construction funds are used in the construction costs include the contingency, standard, and overhead or RPIs. Equipment funds for furniture, fixtures, expenditures, non-RPI or RPI. The design fund account will be activated with the headquarters of AFSVA, notified by the base as a headquarter award. The engineering and architect of the Air Force program must be notified the Major Com SV. The headquarters notifies the HAFSVA and the architectural engineering contract has been awarded, provided with the contracting amount. The updates to the project milestones. The accounts will be activated with the exact amount of the contracting amount only. The same procedure will be used when the base is ready to award with the contracting construction contract. See Part 3 of Section Q for the guidance for the purchase of equipment. Alright, C. Program funding between categories. The non-appropriated policy does not allow the allocated the Air Force program funds being designed construction in accordance with the SIOI contingency equipment category. The following rules apply with the project funds. Headquarters of U.S. Air Force and ILV approved the request for project reprogramming funds between the categories. SOIH contingency funds will not be reprogrammed. Contingency funds cannot be permitted awarded design construction contract. On track C, headquarters USASV LIV 19th December 1995. Memorandum non-appropriated facilities program policies or contacts at headquarters AFSVA SVXF for further information. D. Payment of invoices. Payment of invoices is done by the base service resource management flight invoices that are paid by the Air Force program management law of restricted representative certified work described in the invoice complete correct with the base paid for the invoice the local fund the observe obtain reimbursement electronically. The Air Force non-appropriated funded project account bases are not reimbursed for the invoice that exceed the funds available in the account. See Part 5 for the guidance of approval of the funding of the project change of the modifications. 5. Project changes. Project changes and modification. Changes and modification non-appropriate funding projects are very tightly controlled. Specifically, procure processes obtain approval to change and modify a project that outlined with the following section. Working project modification. Airport project management needs to be allowed the sufficient time of the process staffing requests. Circumstances require the changes as the project needs to be addressed as soon as they are known. The actions requested as quickly as possible. Failure to act in a timely manner will lead to cost work shortages. B. Project cost increase. The Vice Chief of Staff of the Headquarters of the United States Air Force and his established strict rules for the non-appropriately funded project cost increase. The scope changes. Cost increase. The responsibility base Major Com can be paid with one of the following methods along with the project increase for the correct use of the non-appropriated approval is obtained. The base may use the non-appropriated funds. The Major Com may use the command of the non-appropriated funds. Major Com of the CC is authorized to move the non-appropriated funds between the base and they are commanded to pay the project costs increase. The Major Com, CC, and CV and the headquarters U.S. Army CV approval of the U.S. Air Force CV approval of the cancellation Major Com lowest priority Air Force for a non-appropriated funded project apply with the funds project cost increase. The project process cannot involve the BRAC bases. Procedure for the requesting approval of the scope of the cost of the Air Force non-appropriate financial planning must review the revalidated projects based on the scope of the concept of the cost variation outline panel will provide with recommendation to U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps the action and vacancy exceeding the least level of the appendix 55, 58 and receive the memorandum attachments. The panel requires the following information evaluate the proposed scope and the changes of the cost benefit analysis justify the proposal the most of the cost effective alternative. This includes the not new forma financial analysis, rate return, or the payback calculation category. See activity projects involving the change in cost. Example, explanation for the reason, deviation of the proved need of assessment, scope, and the concept, if applicable. The pros source of funds in for any of the cost average, the cost increase for the simple result of the bid overage, the provide explanation for the cost bid overage, including the units for the cost of percent. The contractors that is base for similar construction type projects. The cost be able to bid extract the expiration date of the construction bid. Non-appropriated facility panel meets the video conference every 2 weeks to address the request and change the non-appropriated funded project. Although the requests are handled as expeditiously as possible, Major Com should allow approximately 3 weeks if the staff requests the presentation for the panel. The most common panel problem will request the panel action incomplete and inaccurate supporting documentation, clarifying information, time consuming process, delaying panels action project. Lastly, dueling hold requirements until the last minute, then sending the headquarters to AS, Air Force, SVA, and SVXA requiring the immediate action because of the pending bid expiration dates and contractor work stoppage. Succession does not improve that change of the request must the change of the request being approved. Please give the headquarters ASVA and SVC as much notice as possible with either the circumstance exists. The processing request for contingency funds. Contingency qualifying for the use of contingency fund for the contracting modification, change in orders. Contingency funds are approved with non-appropriated funded construction projects are authorized for the use of addressing unforeseen site conditions, criteria changes, general the Air Force policy and the design areas of mission covered during the construction process. Contingency funds are not authorized to make use of requested change of the following further defined categories. Unforeseen site condition, inclusive discovery, undocumented utilities lines, discovery, soil conditions, buried, breathing, construction, new facilities. These conditions may occur with the site phrasing. Site preparation rarely occur with the site foundation complete with the renovation condition included with such things. Utility not shown as built in the drawings, height hidden with the support structures, different conditions expected with the environmental items. Unknown asbestos contained soil may also be contingency, but they should be handled with appropriated funds. Criteria change, identification, and modification necessary to successfully complete the project that the direct result of the newly charged Air Force criteria submitted with the primary design after construction contract awarded. The architectural engineering errors, omissions included left off drawings and the specifications. Air Force 32-123. Additional information that are further defined as follows. Omissions are typically items that are left out of the contract documents that are necessarily successful completion of the project. Omitting the mirrors of the bathrooms. Example, the simple omission, the omitting of the backflow, preventing the valve of the fire damper. Example, the costly omissions without the items of the project will be complete. Had these items been in the drawing specification, contractor would include them in his bid. Since the contractor did not include the items bid of the contingency fund appropriated by the architectural engineer, has limited liability in this case. The errors can be more serious and more involved with the sustainable liability installed the undersized pipe within per architectural engineering specification. Example, the architectural engineering error. The contractor is not in fault since held by the architectural engineering design. Because of the mistake of the design, the architectural engineer is responsible for remedial action, cost removal, undersized component into the replacement with the correct size. However, the Air Force program manager must work with the construction agent to ensure the cost of the pursing of the architectural engineering liability does not exceed the amount of the government except the recover. The headquarters of the AFSVA and SVXF will allocate the contingency fund with remedial action based that must pursue the architectural engineering, the research, the reimbursement. Important note to do the business, the government contract with the government, and the architectural engineering requires the architectural engineer to carry the insurance errors of omission. The Air Force program must recognize the set of drawings 100% complete, correct, non-construction project without flaws. In this case, contingency funds may be used with the permanent, timely continuation of the construction. However, it is important that the base contract pursue with the architectural engineering liability where the problems are clearly fault with the architectural engineer. Upon the requested change that includes the modifications desirable but not necessary to complete the usable facilities, the example include the changes specified wall, ceiling, floors, finishing one material and other such changes. The contingency will not be funded. The AFP, CFIF dollars, major base or major com funds may be used. Therefore, as long as appropriate approval is obtained, but the project remains the Air Force financial parameters where they apply. Contingency fund allocation reimbursement procedure. In order to avoid construction delay, the headquarters of AFSVA SVXFA will allocate 25% or $25,000, whichever is less. The proof the contingency fund is the same at the time construction funds are allocated. Contingency allocation may be made by the base, and the necessary changes to follow the contingency categories described above. All funds are addressed or added to the contingency allocation up to the total authorized current contingency amount, and contracting modifications of the following procedures apply. When contingency funds are based, the base SV submits the request to the headquarters of ASVA, SVXF for the Viva the major common asking contingency funds allocation reimbursement of the amounts that until the cost of the change is very large, the major com comply with each of the base requests submit within the month in single package of the Air Force, the headquarters of Air Force SVA and SVXF reviews the supporting documentation, allocates the contingency fund for all the valid modifications of the headquarters of AF SVA will reimburse the contingency fund with the use incorporated within in order to validate the request. The following supporting information that's required within each action. The final negotiated amount of the change is not estimated may include the item breakout of the work to be done, exemption, explanation of single term that the problem may be the cause for unforeseen site condition A, architectural engineering oversight criteria change, while the change is not appropriately versus the appropriated funded responsibility. Describe the actions taken to fix the problem. If there is service possible remedies description, then tell why the chosen alternate will be selected. Describe what action was being taken to reaccount the payment with the architectural engineer, check the result of the design, overview, and oversight with the part of the architectural engineering. After use of the residual fund, residual non-appropriated fund, the difference between construction contracting and approved in the construction fund amount that cannot be authorized, cannot be utilized by the base requesting modifications to the project. The AFBSF BSIF fundings do not belong to the base, if the base does not have authority to spend residual funds. Enhancement project funds can be only used for the validate requirements identified and approved by the need of assessment study. In some cases, in some contexts, the base cannot upgrade the materials, implement the design features that would be viewed as excessive gold plating. The function of involved with the Air Force program manager can contact the Air Force SVA, SVXF for the questions concerning the subject. Major Com Approval Authority. The Major Com is authorized to modify the Air Force non-appropriated funds project when all the modeling conditions are met. The scope of the variation increase or decrease for the appropriate scope, included the approved and movements do not differ from the approved scope more than 1%. The total project cost construction contingencies, SOIH, design head, fees, and equipment increase for design include 10% of the approved cost of $50,000, whichever is greater. The major comment of the base funds, the cost increase for non-appropriated funds if the action does not involve this cancellation approved by the AFBSFI funding the project. The project category C activities remain acceptable financial parameters of 70% or 7% rate of return or 20-year payback return. With both major comment SV and SC approve this action. Air Force Non-Appropriated Facilities Panel Approval Authority. The Air Force Non-Appropriated Funded Facility Panel must not act upon modification of Air Force Non-Appropriated Funded projects that receive the Major Com Approval Authority levels. The Air Force Project Manager, Program Manager should submit the modification of Major Com SV. The Major Com SV submits the proposed modifications to the AFSVA. The Major Com must justify the request and provide cost benefits analysis, pro formula financial analysis where appropriate to identify the proposed method of payment with additional costs. The panel has approval to modify the non-appropriated fund of the project under the following condition. Neither the whole project nor the cost work construction work estimate exceeds 125% of the approved scope of the variation. Increase does not differ from the approved scope by more than 10%. Project the category C had either acceptable rate of return or payback parameters. Project modifications exceed the thresholds but must be submitted to the headquarters U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps for the approval of further action. Headquarters of U.S. Army Air Force Engineering Corps Approval Authority. The headquarters of the U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps must modification these exceed the panel authority level. The panel reviews such request for the U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps with the recommendation action. The headquarters of U.S. Air Force Engineering approved the recommendation for further action. The Air Force non-appropriate funded projects under the following condition. The total project construction contingency SOI design fee of the equipment exceeds 125% of the approved cost of work assessment, or construction contingency SOIH exceeds 125% of the approved cost. Scope of the variation increase or decrease different from the approved scope more than 10%. The rate of the return payback of the category C project exceeds the acceptable parameters of the project deviates from the approved concept. The U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps must report a non-appropriated funded project to the Congress between the construction contract awarded, but under the following condition: total project cost exceeds 125% of the approved amount. The scope of the variation increase or decrease differ than the approved scope of the more than 10%. These conditions are applicable to consequent the construction costs and change of the government construction. Project funding in the award funding account of the headquarters of the ASVA establishes the automatic reimbursement account of the Air Force Base Capital Improvement Fund. Number of each of the central funded non-appropriated construction funds, and the Air Force program manager should use the Air Force Base Capital Improvement Fund number that correspond with the pertaining to the project. The automatic reimbursement account, the Air Force Base Capital Improvement Fund number that establishes the administrative funds used in the non-appropriated funded projects. Each base is assigned with the automatic reimbursement account that applies to the Air Force Fund non-appropriated funded construction project for the base. Air Force Base Capital Improvement Funds numbers assigned to identify each specific project. Supplemental information. The following information may not be useful to the Air Force program to understand and coordinate project with the non-appropriated funded facilities. Funding with the forces, funding source for the non-appropriate funding the construction project. The category A, mission sustaining activities project category, virtually no capacity to generate non-appropriated funded revenues since the program is required to support the basic military mission. The funding with appropriated funds. Some examples include fitness center, gymnasium, library, community activities, but both the construction operating these type of activities are funded by the appropriate funds. Category B, basic community support activities, basic support of the military mission to satisfy the basic psychological, physiological needs of military members and the family that have been limited to generated non-appropriate funds. Example: the youth centers, skill centers, swimming pools, outdoor recreation programs, new construction facilities done with non-appropriate funds. These activities receive 50% of the optional funds or appropriate funds. Category B, special. Some activities classified with Category B have special conditions. Bowling centers, 12 lanes or less, to receive the appropriated funds. Operational M&R support. Category B must be constructed with non-appropriate funds. Shell development centers, youth centers overseas receive operational support with the Category B and are constructed with appropriated funds. Category C, revenue generating activities. The program provides recreational resale activities to benefit the military morale. The greatest capability of generating non-appropriated funded revenue funds. Most of the expensive examples include car washes, fast food restaurants, skating rinks, officers, and NCO clubs, bowling centers, golf covers, marinas. The lodging funds. The program consists of temporary lodging funds and visiting corps AFI 32-122 special funding considerations. Other AAFES facilities, banks, credit unions, etc. AFI 32-122 special funding consideration. B. National Non-Appropriated Funding Design Construction Program requirements of the headquarters U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps. Design U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps develops policy overseeing executes the non-appropriate funds obtained waiver the exemption of funding source of the space criteria obtained the scope of the cost variance beyond the established limits. Prepare the non-appropriate funding construction report to the Congress submit within these through the Secretary of the Air Force Office of Secretary of Defense. The headquarters U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps develops the policy official oversight policy procedure for funding of the non-appropriated funding facilities. Approve the program standards, directed implementation, non-appropriate funding for procedure policies, advocacy of the resource allocation annually. Air Force-wide non-appropriated funding construction program. Provides oversight through the tendency analysis with the policy provisions. The headquarters of the AFSVA validates requirements submitted with the major comm process project to the Air Force Non-Appropriate Facility Panel. Review the Air Force Morale, Welfare, Recreation Advisory Board. Funding and approval for the headquarters of U.S. Air Force CC. Oversees the design of all the service consensually funded with non-appropriate projects, ensuring the compliance with the validated scope of the concept. Manages administrative of the Air Force Base Capital Improvement Fund, Air Force Lodging Fund. Air Force Morale, Welfare, and Recreation Advisory Board established control of Air Force non-appropriated funds. Recommends Air Force non-appropriated funds facility priorities not essentially funded with non-appropriate construction at the headquarters of U.S. Air Force CC approval. C. Funding source of non-appropriated maintenance for prayer projects. C. Table 9-2 to identify the appropriate funds for the source of various non-appropriated funds to prepare projects. Alright, building categories, facility, HAVAC, etc. All categories A and B and C. Appropriated funds, except for category C, with the non-appropriated funds have been appropriated RI funds. Additional rearrangement, removal, non-loading railroad reloading bearing walls. Category A and B are both appropriated in funds. Category C is non-appropriated and non-RI. RI and A appropriated funded RI. Correctional life support coding compliance deficiency L code appropriated funded. Asbestos removal, lead base paint removal, systematic upgrade appropriated funded removal. Except for golf course underground maintenance, which is funded with the non-appropriate fund at the R&I location for the funding with the unique requirement of the categories facility remote and isolated locations authorized approved the funding support at the same level as authorized in category B. Critical difference with the military construction non-appropriate funded construction funding sources. The critical difference between military construction and non-appropriated funding construction and funding sources. The critical difference between military construction and non-appropriated funded construction projects are traced between the essential difference between funding military construction funding comes from appropriated funded tax dollars authorized to approve the Congress for the project of the direct support mission of the Air Force. Serve as non-appropriated funds to other projects of the project funded with the T's and change for the Air Force members the other and their families and when they use for the service and exchange operations. Since the Congress does not appropriate the funds, they are referred to as non-appropriated funds. The facility is funded with the non-appropriated funds provided critical morale, welfare, and recreational activity to the Air Force personnel with the family members. Because of the essential difference, the design construction process have been special reporting account requirements that differ with the military construction process. The difference are to ensure the funds were generated by the Air Force members and their families are used widely, i.e., terms of non-appropriated construction funds, in terms of non-appropriated construction funds. AP is appropriate funds, AFBCIF is Air Force Base Capital Improvement Fund, H headquarters of Air Force Service Agency is AFSVH, AFMWRMAB, Air Force Morale Welfare Recreation Advisory Board, MWR, More Welfare Recreation, NAS, Need Assessment Studies, and ROR Rate of Return. And now we're on to the appendixes, and that should be the rest of the book. I'm going to do the appendixes like in a brief review after I post the first initial chapters.